Okay, so I wanted to.
So I guess
These are the hybrids?
No, but I'm thinking like clear the class.
I did too, I think. Different kinds of hybrids, and that's what I have. They have
Chevy Volt and Tesla.
So I wanted to,
Okay,
so I have these release forms because we're going to be videotaping the class. And I videotape all the classes except that the numerology class, the instructors asked me not to videotape that one. But typically, because, so that you guys can see them, you know, as part of your continued study. And so if you would sign this release, and if you don't want to have you'll be on the video, you can say no, and then you can let me know and I can take you out. Or blow your face, or, you know, swallow a snack. Well, I put it on YouTube, but basically it's, I'm going to be doing it so that you have to sign up for it, because, you know, you guys paid $15 to do the classes, so it isn't fair that people get to see the video for free, right? So so what it's going to do is that if you are in the classes, then you will get free access to the videos. If you are buying video, then, you know, it'll cost you $15. I think that's fair. Okay, so it's not going to be public per se, but it will be public for the people who are in the classes. And so, but they're here already, you know. But seriously, if you don't want to be, if your question or the answer is too private, let me know and I'll take it out. Okay, I can edit the video. So, just to let you know that the video's running, and that, but you don't have to say anything. You know, who knows what will come up. Anyway, so just let me know if you want anything to be changed. Any questions?
Yeah, April, I have a question. Could you make 2 more copies of the handout I gave you?
Sure, and I was going to collect up anybody's forms that have filled them out for you. I'll make it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
you guys are great. Thank you, and you're gonna have fun class. And this coffee is decaf, and here's the cups down here. So bring it away.
Just wait.
Yeah, just make one. Yeah. I've got one more card already, and so you don't have to make too many of those.
Do you want cards filled out?
Yeah, just put them right here. Some people would rather ask them in person, some people would rather write them down. It just depends on what you prefer. And make it, if you're writing it down, make it so I can read it, okay?
Universal question is different,
That's okay.
Oh, okay, so the universal question is like, is the world gonna end, that
Right,
question?
or when is it gonna end, or whatever, yeah, universal. Yeah, the US, you can read anything about the US and then personal. And the reason I asked, hi, if you don't know me, I'm Dottie. And the reason I have the personal question last is because if you ask a personal question first, the first question is, when am I gonna meet the blank of my dreams, male, female, whatever. And I say, okay, Ma says that you're gonna meet him in 2019 in July, and she says, where?
There's the next question.
And wait a minute, you're getting one question here. Now, if it's the last one, sometimes we have time to do that, okay? And I want to introduce that before we even start. A lot of people go to see psychics. Okay, well, how are you a good subject? How can you go to see a psychic and get what you really need from it? Because, I'll give you an example. A woman came in to see me and she said, Dottie, I want to know when I'm going to meet the man of my dreams. And Ma said, September 20th, and that was a while ago, 1979. And she said, where? Okay, a lot of people will just say, oh, okay, that was the answer. Instead, she wanted, and I said, shabooms. I don't know if any of you remember shabooms,
Yeah.
okay? And she said, what time? You know, you have no idea how specific Ma can get. And Ma said, 9 o'clock on Tuesday or Thursday. She said, how will I know who he is? And Ma said, he's not much taller than you are, maybe about 2 inches, and he has dark hair. She said, what's his name? And Ma said, Romeo. And she said, am I gonna like him? Ma said, you're gonna marry him. Okay.
That doesn't mean you're gonna like him.
Okay, so this is what happened. 8 months later, I received a call from my client from the bridal suite at the Mirage Hotel in Las Vegas. I just played the reading tape for my husband, and he is amazed. She had followed my advice and met him at Shaboom's at 9 o'clock on a Thursday evening. He introduced himself as Bob, and as the evening drew to a close, told her his friends in the Army always called him Romeo. But what happened? She didn't just say, oh, I'm going to meet him at such and such a time. She kept asking questions. And so many people say, I go to a psychic, I don't want to ask any question, I'm giving too much away. Well, she wasn't giving anything away. No, she was just asking. And I'll tell you that when you go to see a psychic, don't play games, because what it does is it irritates the psychic. You know, I've had a gentleman, I was at a party, and he said, oh, I understand you're a psychic. I said, yeah. He said, so I want to know, why don't I feel very good? And I said, because you were in an accident and you're healing. He said, no, I wasn't. And Ma said, well, that's why you're not feeling good, is because you're healing. And he said, well, you're stupid, that's not true. And when he stood up, he kicked me with his cast.
Accidentally.
He had shattered his leg between the knee and the ankle skiing, but he didn't want to admit I was right. Okay, so what did that do to my spirit guide? It really ticked him off. You know, it's like, I'm not playing games. If you don't want an answer, don't ask a question. You don't have to.
I'm surprised Ma didn't trip him.
Break his other leg.
See, you are healing.
For those of you who don't know, this is what Ma looks like. And he looks like Baba G, because he's part of that lineage. And when I talk about Ma, I met him when I was 5 years old. And I was sitting in my playhouse. You've all heard this story probably. But that was in 1941. And it was during the Second World War. Now, so here I am in 1941, sitting in my playhouse, having a very boring time, because everybody was gone. They were either working in the fields, because we lived on a ranch. My grandmother was an invalid, and I'm kind of, probably singing. I thought I had the most beautiful voice in the world. I was going to be an opera singer, until I found out I was tone deaf at about 13. But anyway, so there I am, just da-da-da, and this man appeared. But he looked kind of shimmery. How many of you have ever been on the desert and looked across and seen that shimmery look? Well, that's what this gentleman looked like. And especially since he was wearing all white. And he had a bandage on his head. And I thought, yep, because the war was going on and people kept coming home with injuries. So it made sense that he could have a bandage on his head. And so he sat down and he started talking to me. But mainly he was interested in me. He wanted to know what I was doing in school. And I just started kindergarten. Well, have you ever talked to a kindergartner about school? I'm surprised he still came back. I mean, I just had to tell him everything about school. And he just sat there and talked to me. And for me, it was the most blessed thing that could happen. I had the full attention of an adult. And then he left. And he just kind of left. And I ran in and I said, Grandma, this man came and he talked to me. And he talked to me this afternoon, and he's wonderful. And guess what she said?
Just
That's nice, dear. And from then on, every time I've talked to people about having this man that talks to me, they say, that's nice. I've never had anybody say you're crazy. The only person I had problems with was the guy with a broken leg. You know, usually people are very, how wonderful, or oh, that's great, or that's nice, or tell me about it. So starting out that way, and as I started aging up, sometimes Ma would come every month. Sometime I wouldn't see him for 6 months. It was just very interesting. But he always seemed to arrive when something was happening that was momentous. Something that bothered me, he would show up. Now, the last time that he showed up in person, I was sitting in my office. It was late at night. I was doing something, like trying to file something. And I turned, and there's somebody standing in my doorway. And they had on black pants and a white shirt. And I just caught it. And you know when you think you're all alone and the
Yes.
doors are locked? And if you see somebody, yeah, I kind of, "Blah," you know. And in my head, he disappeared. In my head, he said, "Local psychic dies of heart attack, about searing spirit guide in the door." Chuckle, you know. And then he said, "I promise I won't do that again. I don't want to scare you." But that sense of humor is what's so remarkable about Ma, because you expect a spirit guide to be very serious. And he comes up with things in readings that are outrageous. And if you don't want to know about your sex life, don't come see Mom. He will tell you. He will tell you. You know, either it's missing, or you should have some, or what position to use. You know, it's just amazing. Because he says we American humans don't take sex seriously enough as something that the body is going to enjoy. And he's there, you know, and he seriously, and I've had women say, "Well, then what should I be doing?" And he'll just tell them all about what they should be doing. So that's what I like about Ma, is that he's very direct about what he has to say. Now, when I told you that he was wearing all white, I had never thought about that, where he came from. Because it wasn't until I was 13 I realized he didn't have a bandage on his head, he was wearing a turban. And I had seen a wonderful organ player playing the organ. It was the first time I ever saw somebody who was wearing a turban.
Curl a
I was
bandit?
from the country.
Was it
And
curl a bandit?
when I found out, oh, there's parts of the world where men wear
Panda curl.
turbans, I was, that must be Mom. Finally it dawned on me to ask, where do you come from? Up until then, till I was 13, 14, it was always about me, you know. And he said that he came from the province of Madras, India. And he was just, you know, and he talked about that. It wasn't until last year I asked him what religion he was. Never thought.
Didn't matter.
Didn't matter, you know, because he believes that everybody's equal and everybody should be treated equal, and that's what's going on. And I just love that. And finally I said, "Hey, Mom, what religion are you?" And he said, "Hindu." With that, I thought you knew all along. Which is one of the oldest religions and one of the most welcoming of everybody. And so there was this wonderful experience for me of realizing that who Ma was somebody very, very fun and very, very nice and very spiritual. And so working with that has been what I have done. When I get things that come through for me,
There's someone there too.
that's also for other people. So sometimes people will call me. I don't know which is furthest. I have a client in Australia and one in Hungary. I don't know really which is the furthest away. I think probably Australia. I don't know. I'm not that good at, you know, that type of thing. But when people call me, somebody says, "Well, how does Mom know who they are?" I have no idea. They call and he starts telling me about it. That whole energy of him knowing about people in different areas always amazes me. But what amazes me when he talks to me about somebody's past life, and because he gets, you know, you hear about psychics and they hear things or they see things. I have been a Roman soldier. My mom said this person was a Roman soldier, and all of a sudden I'm on the field in full Bible gear, And this is who I was as them in a past life. And I could tell them what it was like, what it felt like, what was going on. And it's an amazing feeling to start out as somebody else when you're hearing it. And you go, hey, that's interesting. Well, wait till you feel it. And you can, the sound of the men walking and the sound of a sword hitting a shield. Disney doesn't do it justice, and neither do any of the other directors, of what it feels and sounds like when you hear it on a battlefield. So Ma has taken me so many different places, to monasteries and convents, battlegrounds, all sorts of different places, and put me in there so I will know what this person's past life was about, and then I can explain it to them and tell them what it was. Many times when Ma comes, he wants to talk about somebody's health. And maybe that's not why the person's there. I had a dear friend, and many of you know my friend Erin. Erin came in to see me. She was all excited. She met the man of her dreams. And that's what she came to see Dottie. I had known Erin since she was 16. And at this point in time, she was in her very early 30s. And she came in and no, she was about late 30s. Because when did Tim and Erin get married? She was late 30s, wasn't she? Yeah. And because she came in and she wanted to talk to me about finding the love of her life.
There's a chair right here.
Did you want to check? And, okay, are we having, so when she came in and she sat down, and Ma said, go see the doctor. And she said, what? And he said, go see the doctor. And she said, okay, I'll make an appointment for next month. He said, today. And she looked at me, and she said, I'll call and get an appointment. And that was on a Thursday, and her doctor, she went and saw Friday afternoon. And they operated on her on Monday. And removed all of her internal organs virtually. And cancer was very widely spread.
But she didn't know at all.
No, she didn't know at all. And she called, and of course, she had always wanted to have a baby. She was just getting married. I mean, it was one of those, oh my gosh. And the reason I'm feeling it is I'm looking at my friend Sherry, and we went and visited right before she died, so the story's kind of fitting us. Now, Erin's mother never liked me. Carol didn't like me. I was too close to her age and too much of a friend of her daughter's, so for her it was like, yeah. And Carol just didn't care for me at all. And when she found out that I had said that Erin had to go in and have surgery, she was kind of like, let's see what happens here. And then when she was diagnosed, and then when she went into chemo, we went for Erin's birthday.
Yeah.
And we're there at Mimi's, and Carol walked up to me and said, you saved my baby girl. And we all cried, because she lived 7 years after that. And she got married, and they moved to Arizona, and it had saved her, and she knew that time was precious. And only one other time have I ever done that, where somebody came in, and Ma said, they need to go see a doctor. And usually, people come in and ask about health, but there's problems that they know they have. And so you can talk about that. But that was one of the few times that it not only was a horrible thing, but it also was so good for Erin to know what was going on. And we did her memorial last year here, because she was so much a part of who all of us were. We were there when she was growing up.
And usually it's hard for Dottie to read family. She's known someone for a very long time and their family. But I think because it was so serious.
That Ma just, usually Ma doesn't want me to know. He doesn't really want me to know if my kids were sneaking out at night, He does them to the kids, people say, well, didn't you know that? No, he could care less, He wasn't that concerned about it. These spiritual gifts that psychics have quite often, like Sherry says, it's hard for us to read our family because you really don't want to know that much about them. You think you do, but they have to live their life. So usually it's more other people that you do readings on. But what is funny is I had one fellow, he was traveling to Bakersfield, and he had called me and he said, oh, I'm going to go to Bakersfield and then I'm going to go over the Grapevine and go into LA. And I want to make sure I'm having a safe trip because I'm driving my brand new car. And it was a little tiny Austin Healey. Remember Austin Healey's? It was a little red Austin Healey, and he had just gotten it, and he was so excited he was driving it. And Ma said, oh, there's going to be an accident. 2 trucks are going to collide on the Grapevine, and it's going to really be difficult, and we don't want him to be near that in his little Austin Healey. So I told him, he goes, oh, okay. So I said, what you better do is just kind of slow down a bit, you know. So he called me from Lebec, if any of you know that area, and he said, why did you say slow down? Do you know how many hours it's going to take to get trucks off of the
Why not speed up?
He said he is stranded here, and I could have sped up, you know. I don't know how fast he would have to go to clear that, you know. But
Leave a day ahead.
Yeah. But now every time he comes back, he always reminds me of that. And he said they were 2 large 18-wheelers. There are so many times that I have these kind of stories of things that happen with people. And the only reason I have mentioned these are people who said I could. Because, you know, one of the most, when you're doing readings, that's one of the things that sometimes you're really tempted to say, guess who I saw today? Guess who came in? Or guess what happened? But that's not fair. Just as you are a counselor, many people in here are ministers. And as a minister, you give counseling. And when you minister to them, you don't tell other people what their problems are. Sure. That goes completely against it. Well, that's true if you're a psychic. When you're talking to somebody, you don't run off and tell everybody, guess what I found out about Alma? Guess what I found out about Judy? You know, you don't do that. Now, every once in a while, something comes up about somebody that's a story. And I'll say, can I tell your story? And they'll say, oh, sure. You know, because it's a real interesting story. But when you're doing it and unless you ask permission, that's the same thing Corky was doing. If we're videotaping today, and she wants to make sure it's okay to get a videotape. And if you don't want to be in it, let her know and she can edit you out. And it's just so, because people see this somewhere. Where do they see it?
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, and find out what all these classes are about. This is called the Academy. And because the Academy of Esoteric and Spiritualistic Studies.
Of esoteric, yeah, of esoteric and spiritual studies. Right.
That's what she
Academy
said.
of Esoteric. Yes.
Thank you, dear. Okay, and and these people are taking these classes for ministerial credit. And so they have a binder and they have all of these things because we are a spiritualist church here. The Center for Creative Living is a spiritualist church. So people are learning things and they're getting credit for it. So if they want to go on and become ministers. As I got to know Ma, he's such a stickler for honesty. He wouldn't cheat on tests for me. Can you believe that? I would say, Ma, you know the answer to that. You know, he died in 1822. He knew a lot about what was going on in the history of the world. What's the answer? No, I'm not going to. No, that's not what I'm going to do. So I had to learn it myself, you know, because that's not what he's here for. He's here more to help other people do things. Now, I have people come in and say, am I going to complete college? And Ma says, not at the rate you're going. You haven't passed a single test. And they go, well, but, and Ma says, no, there's no but. Either you study or you quit school, but don't mess around and spend your folks' money. or take out loans that you know you're not gonna get a degree. And, there's a lot of people who don't wanna hear the truth.
Most of them.
Yeah. If you weren't under the air
I know,
conditioning.
that's why I have my blanket.
Okay.
Oh, because you want to be cold. There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Now we're happy.
Okay, Ma's name is Mahalaleo. And when I was 5 years old, and I asked him his name, and he said Mahalaleo, I called him Ma. I've been calling him Ma ever since. And it wasn't, as I said, things have happened with my relationship with Ma. I was reading Genesis, and I'm reading along, and Adam and Eve, and da-da-da-da, and I ran across Mahalaleo. And I went, Ma, you were related to Adam. And he said, so are you. No, Ma, you're in the Bible. And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, what was it like? And he said, your parents are your parents. Adam, great-great-grandfather. He said, but I was really proud of my great-grandson. And I said, who's your great-grandson? He said, Methuselah. And so that was like, whoa. Oh, there, man, you found yourself.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Magical.
It's magic, I know. And so then I realized that Mahalaleel can be spelled a couple of different ways. Mahaleal or Leel. Because I looked at different Bibles and it was done different ways. But to have somebody that goes all the way back to that time, that he's been around.
He's older than Methuselah.
Yes, he really is.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So, now, what's the difference between a guardian angel and a spirit guide? I've been talking about a spirit guide all along. For me, Ma is my guardian angel. Everybody comes in with a guardian angel. Everybody. Quite often, your guardian angel wanted you to be born. I have people come in to see me and they say, well, I'm wondering about this baby that I want to have. And Ma said, that baby is a spirit, and it already has its guardian angel chosen. And they look at me, you're kidding, So that's what's going on there, is that the guardian angel attaches to you before you quite often are conceived. Now, I've had an example of this going wrong, in that I had a lady came in, and she was real worried about her child. The baby was only 2 months old. And Ma said she should be. It hasn't connected with the spirit guide. It hasn't connected with its guardian angel. And I said, that's not supposed to happen. And he said, no, it's not. And that's when I got a hold of Beck, who does Taga, for this young lady, and said, let's get this young woman connected with this guardian angel for her child, because it was going to be a little girl. So we knew everything about it, but it wasn't going to last if we didn't quickly get its guardian angel attached. And that's one of the few times. Since then, it's happened one other time, but that's so interesting. We keep thinking we choose things in life, and quite often our guardian angel knows who we are before we are even aware, our parents are even aware of who we are. So you have a guardian angel, but you can have as many spirit guides as you want. I talked to a lady that had 144. That sounded great to me, but I got Ma, But I have more than one spirit guide. I have Ma. I have a wonderful, wonderful being called Ramon. Now, Ramon, in the 50s, used to play the piano down at a Holiday Inn somewhere. He worked the piano bar. And every time I see him, he's wearing this powder blue leisure suit. He's got gold chains and hairy chest. And Ramon is his fleas. He's my sleaze. He is this wonderful spirit guide that can tell the worst jokes. I mean, just bad. So if you ever see me up at the pulpit on a Sunday telling bad jokes, well, Ramona has just jumped in. The other one I have is Spotted Dove, and Spotted Dove is as sweet as her name. And if I'm talking about herbs, or if I'm talking about healing, if I'm talking about Native American things, you know Spotted Dove has come through. And she is the most delightful being. And talk about unconditional love. As sleazy as Ramon is, Spotted Dove is on the other side. So you don't have to be a spirit guide, all you have to be is dead. Okay, just remember that. And they just came through, you know. If I'd chosen, I never would have chosen Ramon. Now, something that happened that was very weird, and Corky was there for this. I have E.T. named Martel, and Martel always wants to be a guide or something. You know, he wants to get into my body, which is some kind of spiritual rape, I guess. I don't know what it is, and I was working, and I had my office over on the heading, and all of a sudden, I started talking in a male voice and acting weird. And my receptionist at the time, Diana, said, "Oh my God, oh my God. So what do you do when your boss is possessed?" It's kind of a different, and I heard her run, and first of all, she said, "Do you need a blanket? Would you like a cup of tea?" You can't go wrong with those two. And then she ran, and she goes, "Corky, something's going on with Dottie. Would you get here?" Corky does depossession. And so the next thing I know, Corky came in, and can you tell that story about how you got rid of this Martel?
Oh, yeah. So the symptoms were that you felt like, suddenly you felt like you could take over the world, and he was telling you to pick up a chair and throw it out the window. And so that's when you resisted him and said, "I'm not going to do that." And so, and then there was a battle. So he was trying to fight for his rightful place. But he saw you as a vehicle for him to take over church. I don't know what it was, because you were a religious science minister then. But anyway, so I had you lay down and put you into the light trance just so you could be relaxed. And I was asking questions, and I was kind of like, well, where do you come from? Who sent you here? What is your purpose? That's the kind of questions that I asked to kind of figure out where we are with this guy. And he says, and I said, "Well, are you Ma?" And he goes, "Ma, he's nothing." Well, you're not going to talk about Ma like that. And so then I said, "Well, this guy's got to go then." So, I started telling him that, here you are this all-powerful person. And yet, you have to use a woman to get what you want. Just a mere woman. You can't do it without her. You're nothing. You have to show me that you have power, that you're as powerful as you say you are, and that you don't really need her, so that, otherwise I won't think that you're anything. And he says, "Well, I am," and he leaves the body. And when he leaves the body, then I go, "Shut the body! Close the body! Everything down." And so Daddy says that it's like
metal plates going, ching, 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 ching. And the raging through the room was incredible.
Yeah, he couldn't get back in, and he was purely pissed. Yeah, he was really mad. He was very angry, and so I told him to go where he came from, and Daddy says it was like a ribbon, just like this huge ribbon that just kind of like a ribbon of fire. It was very dramatic.
Thank you. Thank you. And then my receptionist peeked back in. Can I come in now? Yes, it's okay. And but it was one of those things that I had no idea that anything was wrong. I just knew that all of a sudden nothing anybody else did was okay. They were all wrong and I was all right, and that just didn't feel good. And when I started to talk and it was in a male voice, I knew we had problems. So you can get possessed if you don't keep your energy high. And when I talked to Ma, I said, what happened? You're supposed to be there protecting me. And he said, every once in a while, there are beings that are so negative. And you were in a negative mood.
Well-
And it's almost like you just pulled him in.
We had just come back from our trip to England. Byron was dying or had died.
Of AIDS,
You know, he was really very ill or succumbed to that. And you weren't in a good place. I mean, you were, your bestest and closest friend had was dying. And, the trip had been great, but of course, as we know with trips, there's a lot of work. So,
And I want to add one thing in that trip that was very interesting, since we're talking kind of out here phenomena. We were going through the Abbey, and as we were going through the Glastonbury Abbey, I heard crying. And I looked down, and there was this little boy. He was about 12, and he was a spirit, and he was just sitting there crying. And I stopped and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, I'm just so miserable and everything's so bad. And I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Kevin." I said, "Kevin, why is everything bad?" And he said, "Because everybody's mean." And I said, "Do you know you're dead?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Go into the light." He said, "I can't go into the light. They're there." I said, "Who's there?" And he says, "The mean people." And I said, "Who are the mean people?" And he said, "The priests." And I said, "Well, why are they mean?" He said, "Because they called me bastard." Because his mother wasn't married, and they made me do all these awful things. I had to carry rocks and do all these things, and they were mean, and if they're there, I don't want to go there. And I said, "Kevin," they all changed. When they went into the light and they're with God, they got their redemption, and they all changed, and it's different. And we want you to go there, but I don't know how. So I'm walking around, Corky says, "What the that?" I'm walking back, and we had a room on the second floor of the George and Pilgrim in Glastonbury. And I said, "Okay, Kevin, we're gonna figure out how to get you into the light." And I walk in, and there on the drapes is a dying butterfly. And it was red, white, and blue. I've never seen a red, white, and blue butterfly before in my life. And when they're dying, their wings are just, you could just tell. And I said, "Okay." And I picked up the butterfly, and I said, come on, Kevin, I want you to come with me and the butterfly." And so I go walking down with the butterfly, and we go out, and I put the butterfly on this twig, and the butterfly is sitting there, and I say, "Now, Kevin, you are going to follow the butterfly. When it dies, you're going to go with it into spirit." And the butterfly stopped, and Kevin was gone. And Corky said, "I like doing things with you." But how do you get a spirit that's afraid? And since then, I've talked to people who had passed. When I did the releasement of all of the beings at Pearl Harbor in USS Arizona, and the first thing I did when I realized these beings were talking to me, and I could hear these voices of these men who had died in the battleship. And I said, "Okay, I want you to go into the light." And there was this roaring no. Well, the ship had exploded. So there is no light that they want to go into. And so that was one of those that I thought, okay. And so as it was, I could finally get angelic beings to come and take each spirit that was ready to go. Not all of them were ready to go. One person wasn't ready to go because he didn't know where his brother was. Okay, and there were lots of sets of brothers and one set of triplets rather. There were twins and there was one set of triplets on the USS Arizona. That's why, for any of you who saw Saving Private Ryan, in there, where they're not going to send all the members of the same family, males, all the members of the same family, and that happened because of the USS Arizona, which was really an amazing thing. Anyway, so I'm just telling you these stories because when you start working with spirit, when you have a spirit guide working with you, that guide's going to put you in places that you might not necessarily want to be, because people have real life experiences when they come to see you. People come to see me One day today, a woman came to talk to me and from Florida and wanted to know if her father was going to get the inheritance he was entitled to. You know, there are things like that that you don't even think of in an everyday conversation. But this was very important. And there are so many things that people have that are important. And so when Ma started answering her questions, she felt a lot better. So, and that's why when I do phone readings, I usually record it on an old-fashioned cassette tape recorder so they can listen to it. But nowadays, if people come to see me, I have them put it on their smartphone. Because what I found is if they don't record it somehow, they're gonna call back later and wanna ask me questions. And I don't remember. Right now, I'm looking around and there's quite a few of you people who I've done a reading on and I can't remember the reading. I can remember your face, but I don't remember what Ma said as far as the reading goes, you know.
You're not supposed to.
I'm not supposed to. I'm just a channel. And so they just come through. So that's what's going on there. The other thing that always amazes me is when I talk to people about their spirit guides. And they are all different. Just like I said, I have 3 of them that are completely different. They're all different. And different spirit guides seem to be attracted to people. Some people it's about exercise and diet, you know, and they're going to work with you and help you. And Ma is not particularly good at that, unless you want to be a vegetarian. He's pretty darn good with vegetarians, you know. But if you're a carnivore, he just doesn't know too much about that. And he'll tell me. Somebody will ask me a question, and Ma says, you know, I really don't have an answer to that because I don't understand that situation. Okay.
Well, he's not shy about going to get somebody.
No, and everyone, every once in a while, it's the strangest people too. You know, and he'll say, oh, I know somebody that can answer that, and I'll go get them. And they'll appear, and all of a sudden I'll be talking to Joan of Arc or somebody like that, and he wants to, you know.
Well, like that one time he went and fetched Jesus.
Yep.
Jesus was out playing baseball.
What do you mean Jesus is playing baseball? I never heard about that. And he said, yes, you did. Angels in the Outfield. Ma listed all of the baseball movies that had ever been made. He said, where do you think they got their inspiration? And I said, okay, what position does he play? He said, shortstop. In case anybody ever asks, what position did Jesus play in baseball? It's shortstop. But Ma will just say, okay, I don't really get this. I'll go find somebody that does. And then the next thing I know, I hear another voice talking besides mine.
Well, yeah, we had, when we were in the Yucatan, he went and got,
This tall dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there was, once he got Alexander, was it Alexander Bell?
Yeah.
About this person who came in, they said, I can't tell you about this, but it's an invention and it's not working quite right. And Ma said, I don't know about it either, so I went and got an invention, you know,
No, he got
Graham Bell?
Tesla.
Tesla.
Nicholas Tesla came and, talk about a conversation where you don't understand it. They're talking over my head, you know, and they just said, well, I wanted to do, what did I do with this and this and this? And Tesla told him, and he spoke with an accent. It was a little hard to understand for me, but this guy knew exactly what I was talking about. So when you channel, you can channel just about anybody that's willing and coming through. But what happened when Martel tried to get through with this negative entity, you always want to protect yourself. Anytime you go to see somebody who's a spiritualist, protect yourself. Anytime you're doing any kind of spiritual work, protect yourself. Realize that you are open. And when you open up psychically and spiritually, you can bring in, like where I got Martel from, I don't know. But I had been so open because of depression. Depression, fear. There's so many things that open you up in a negative way. And the best way to protect yourself is just visualize golden or white light around you as a protective shield. And do that every morning when you wake up. You know, you wake up, you take a shower. For me, I wake up, I take my shower. While I'm in the shower, I, clean everything quickly, especially my hair. It's clean. And I get out and I visualize protecting myself with white light. And it's all that fast. If you ask me how long did it take, very, very quickly. and do that. It doesn't take that much time, and for the rest of the day, you're pretty well protected.
And we've set up the protection in here so that while you guys are,
Yeah,
when we have
always
classes.
set up a protected field around the room so that you guys are protected, so. And somebody says, why is it I feel safe in the sanctuary here? Well, because of the protection we put it around, to make sure that there's no sneaking spirits around, okay? Any questions so far? Yes, ma'am?
Like, like further you mentioned Tesla or like, how come they didn't reincarnate? Did they reincarnate to somebody
Oh,
else?
sure, they will reincarnate, okay.
So
I've got a book for you to read
Oh.
that answers this, and it's called The Education of Oversoul 7
Yes.
by Jane Roberts. That we have such a thing as simultaneous time going on.
Oh.
I'm here in this body, but I'm also in my body in my past life
And the future.
and the future. And when you read about simultaneous time, you'll see how Tesla could have been answering my questions and could have still been doing what he was doing and was still alive at the same time. It's one of those books, you read it and you shake your head, and then you go back and you read it again and you shake your head. And about the third time you go, for me personally, I don't know if I'm ready to understand this. Now Smitty can tell you all about it because he knows about it. But it's one of those most amazing things to realize that people we have one oversoul, and that oversoul is here, and it's with every one of our lifetimes. And when you do that, it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's very, very unusual.
So it is also possible that part of Tesla could be a bad place too,
Yeah.
like hell.
It could be where?
Like hell?
No, well, I don't believe in hell.
I don't either.
I don't believe that
This
we
is
have.
hell if you
yeah.
choose it.
That this is hell.
Yeah. I believe that we can be in a negative space, but I don't believe in brimstone and pitchforks and anything else like that. To me, that's the boogeyman, and it's a story that we have told small children. So for me, spirit is a wonderful, positive place. But that doesn't mean you might not feel a little bit negative there, but it's nothing at all like hell. Okay, but it depends on what religion you are, what you believe in. And I'm not here to change anybody's belief system, trust me. Whatever it is you believe in, that feels really good. Okay, yes, April, do you have a question? You're just waving, or you're just cold?
Doing anything.
Keep your hands to yourself, lady. Any questions?
What was the name of that book again?
The Education of Oversoul 7. Oversoul, Soul 7, by Jane Roberts. She's the one who channels Seth.
Yeah, Seth Speaks.
Seth Speaks. And you can get it used in Amazon for probably like 99 cents. I mean, it's
Costs more, shipping costs more than
it's
the
such a but it's sold so well in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
The other book I'm going to recommend has nothing to do with spirituality, and that is What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. Terry Cole Whitaker. And if you have anybody that says, oh, my life is miserable, she says such and such at work, or they say such and such, yeah, I buy them by the carload. I mean, I just now ran out of What You Think of Me Is None of My Business, because I just give them away like peanuts, because they are such a good read, and especially for women. Terry Cole Whitaker was an evangelistic minister, and she realized that wasn't the path she wanted to be on, and she became a spiritualist, and she now does a lot of traveling and with meditation and metaphysics. Okay, any other questions that you have? I've been chatting here now for almost an hour, so. Okay, one of the things that I have found when I work with MAH is the love that this being has. If I do something that's totally stupid, and have you ever done something?
Club.
Yeah, and
Once
I
a
do
day,
something and I go,
at
oh,
least.
that was really stupid, and Mom says, but you learned something. Or, yes, but you're still wonderful. Or, there's always that kind words that you need to hear. Okay.
But there was that one time when you were at the puja,
Okay, my puja story. How many of you have ever been to a puja? And, you know, and they were just, saying the 1,000 names of God. And this is a Hindu group in a circle, and the woman is chanting 1,000 names of God. And all of a sudden there's Ma in the middle of the circle, and she says Ganesh and Ma has an elephant tusk. And every time she would say one of the names of God, Ma would change into that form. And he's dancing, and he's just da-da-da in the middle. And finally, I got tired, you know, about 493, I got tired of this, you know. And I said, this is so tiring. And he says, wait a minute. And he just stood in front of me, looked at me, and he said, for years, you took me to a church where they spoke Latin, which I don't understand, and bored me to tears. You can at least sit here for 2 more hours and listen to it. Okay, Ma.
Okay.
So much for Catholicism. But he has this, but as I said, he has this wonderful sense of humor that makes me laugh. But he has a sense of humor about things that we think are so serious. And he just says,
You
just
know,
stop it.
we take things too seriously.
Yeah, seriously, we do.
Seriously, we do.
Yeah, so, hey, you are so smart, or I just talk too fast, I don't know what it is, because I haven't, nobody's asking any more questions, I'm here, you know, go.
Are you going to go into Ma and answer questions?
Yes.
Do you change when you do that?
Oh, I hope not.
No, she talks faster. That's
You
what,
didn't think that would happen, did you? How did I talk?
yeah, you can, that's how you can tell when she's channeling, is that she just, you know, kind of like drops down into second gear and
Because that's the way Ma is, he talks fast, and that he wants to let me know everything that he has to tell me, and he has to tell me quickly. Yeah.
Are you doing that tonight?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's why you had the cards. Okay, you all had cards.
Okay,
Yeah.
does anybody need to take a break or anything before?
Yeah, this is break time.
Break time.
For a bio break, we have 2 restrooms. We have
There's water,
We
coffee.
have water. We have Kleenex.